Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and oh my gosh. On my other channel, I talk about John Wick and how I'm a huge fan of the franchise. Netflix, they got a million original movies and adaptations over there. Netflix just like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, they put out a trailer for this movie, Polar, starring Mads Mikkelsen. And the trailer was good. And everyone and their mama emailed me the trailer link. They're like, dude, you like John Wick? They got this movie. It looks like John Wick. So I was like excited. So I was so excited that when it came out, I didn't watch it right away because I was like, ooh, I really want to enjoy this. So I waited till I got all my stuff done with my Jawbreakers, Indiegogo. It's all at the distributor. It's all out of my hands now. Everything's paid for. It's done. So I was like, oh yeah, time for my reward. And then I watched it. And the good thing is that it disappoints you like straight out of the gate. Like it lets you know it's basically like, I try not to curse that much, but it's basically like the fuckboy of action movies. Like you just go like, oh, this is so cringy and embarrassing. So the two biggest things that I was thinking about the whole time while I was watching this movie, I go, this movie's so old. By that I mean it's in a style that went out of, first of all, that was barely in style like 20 years ago and went out of style like 10 years ago. I kept thinking about this cheesy movie from the late 90s called The Big Hit with Mark Wahlberg, which I actually walked out of. And I very rarely walk out of movies. And back then, when I was broker than broke, I almost never walked out of a movie. I think that's the only movie I ever paid for that I walked out of, until recent times. I did walk out of Harry and the Hendersons, but I was like 12, so I walked out. And then I realized that I was 12 and my parents had driven me there and I was way far away from home. So I just had to go sit in the hallway for like an hour and 10 minutes waiting for my family to come out. But anyway, so the trailer makes it look good. It looked, kind of like older John Wick retired and, the old company he used to work for is trying to kill him for reason X. And it looked really dark and serious and somber with, a little bit of over the top action. So the biggest problem with this movie is that it is two completely different movies. There's Mads Mikkelsen and Vanessa Hudgens, who I don't really know her that much. I kind of remember her from, I think she was in Sucker Punch. I'm gonna call her Hudgens. Vanessa Hudgens gives this Oscar-worthy performance, and all of her scenes are very, very serious, very dramatic. I mean, still, like she's like breathtaking performance. Mads Mikkelsen is good. He's basically being Mads Mikkelsen. It's there's been several movies like this. The older yet still very handsome retired assassin gets called back in for reasons X, Y, and Z. It was actually making me think of this movie called The American, which with George Clooney, but pretty much like it's like a straight drama. It kind of like fooled everyone thinking it was an action movie, and it's just a drama. But this one, like, if I remember correctly, you don't see the first scene is these like mid-tier goons who get killed like halfway through the movie. Spoiler. So it starts off and it's this over-the-top editing and logos and quick cuts, and I'm like, this feels like a movie from 2003. Like I said, we're talking Smoking Aces, which is the first movie I remember Chris Pine being in. Came out, 2005 era, sometime around there. And then you had Big Hit, which was 1998. Like, it was all of this really, really bad, like, third and fourth generation Tarantino ripoff style. And it's just embarrassing. It's like Johnny Knoxville, and he's getting assassinated by these hipster goon idiots who take up about a half of the movie before they get killed. and then it turns into another weird version. This one is just like, I don't know what I'd call it. The biggest problem is that it goes back and forth between these two tones. They have, this, Assassin's Guild. And the thing that was killing me is this movie didn't have the basic decency to be awful. There was a point where the movie is just ruined. And then they do the worst thing. Every like 30 minutes, something really cool will happen. Like the impetus for this is the leader of this assassin guild is trying to show more profits. So they have a retirement program, with matching retirement funds. And actually, those were some really good scenes where it's just like this older assassin just doing this really boring, like talking about his investments and all that type of stuff. I don't know. I found that stuff entertaining. But then they're like, we're paying all these people, once they retire, we match their funds. And like just for this one guy, he had like $8 million. That was like, so they go, what if we just kill all of our older assassins and then we don't have to pay their pension? I was like, that actually works. Like that's a kind of a cool idea. And then the other cool things is there's like, after having some really lame shootouts, which are usually just all executions, there's a pretty cool part where the hipster goons go to, I believe his name is Duncan's cabin, and he takes him out, and it's pretty well done. The only kind of magical part is he escapes from inside his cabin to like 300 meters away behind a guy at night in the snow. I was like, but that's done pretty well. And then when they take out the hipster goons, you're like, what is the rest of the movie going to be? So then the guy gets captured, and it becomes like 20 minutes of torture, and most of that is pretty bad, but they actually kind of did something on torture that was some good writing. So, the guy that got him, strung up in the torture chamber, and this really sleazy guy is coming in. And well, one of the things that I think they were trying to do is like, let's make villains you really, really hate, so you're happy when they die, which is good for this genre. The problem is they were basically pulling in like Dick Tracy villain. Just imagine if Prune Face from Dick Tracy was in John Wick, or those parkour, gangsters from Punisher Warzone were in, like, it doesn't match at all. So he opens up these, this torture kit, and then he's like, I have 4 days to torture you. And then for the first 2 days, he just takes out these, I think they're wire clippers. It's just these little short, like turnip shaped blade. And he just kind of just does these little, like on the little fatty, like all the places where you don't want a tattoo because it hurts the most. And he just does that like a couple dozen a day. And then he's like, okay, I'll be back tomorrow. And I was like, that's actually pretty good writing because it's way worse than, something else. But overall, like it was just the most schizophrenic mess of a movie. I don't know. And the thing I kept thinking, I was like, they had to have known this. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you get those movies like the Solo movie where they're like, they had to do a lot of reshoots, because the original tone was very jokey and then they tried to make it more straightforward. Or like with Rogue One, the original version was too serious and then they tried to make it a little bit more fun. But this is literally like, it's like this weird game in, film school. Film a script with one tone, then film a script with a completely different tone, like style of acting and cinematography and costume design and all of that. And then use half of the footage from one and half from the other and then mix it together. Now, the weird thing is you can do multiple styles in a movie, but you can't do two. You got to do multiple. So we're talking like Natural Born Killers and then Kill Bill. I mean, Kill Bill even has a scene that's animated. But there's something weird where you can do one style, of course, that works. You can do 5 styles in a movie, that weirdly works. But 2 styles literally just like cleaves your brain in half with a freaking hatchet. And not even to get, the acting styles and the caliber of acting. I mean, Vanessa Hudgens is like off the charts. It was insane. So it sets itself up for a sequel, which I actually would be fine with if they would pick one tone and stick with it. So I looked this up because supposedly it's based off of a webcomic, and I think it's just barely. I looked it up. The webcomic is supposedly, at least the first one is just supposedly silent. It looked like kind of like a Darwin Cook, ripoff. And this one was, like I said, it was John Wick meets the big hit and Smoking Aces with a little bit of Five Heads in a Duffel Bag, or all those trash like late 90s Tarantino ripoff movies. So overall, very, very, very disappointed and oddly confused. Why did this happen? So anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe, and I'll have another movie or TV. It'll basically be one video per day. Thanks for watching. Bye.